because we've got a doubleheader coming in the NFL. We're so used to watching NBA that we get NFL for Christmas tomorrow. It starts with the Chiefs at the Steelers. Everyone was talking about Patrick Mahomes' ankle and how concerned they would be in that game against the Texans. We were still talking about his ankle, only there were no concerns there because it didn't bother him as the Chiefs won. On the other side of this one, Logan, the Steelers, they lose to the Ravens, but they should get George Pickens back in this one. So how do you see it playing out on Christmas?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, I know he's playing on Christmas, but it should be Halloween. He's like Jason. He just keeps coming back. It's unbelievable, his ability to play through high ankle sprains. Look, he's on a mission to play these games so that they can lock up the #1 seed so he can rest the last week of the year. So that is why he's played the last one, and it looked like he was unaffected, and he's going to play on this one on a short week, back like 2 games in 4 days on a high ankle sprain is probably never been done before. So that is why the Chiefs want to win and need to win this game. They want to lock up the #1 seed so it goes to Arrowhead. The Steelers need to win this game because they want to win their division. If they don't win this one, Baltimore's not losing another game this year. I already previewed the next game, Baltimore and Texans. They're winning that one. So the Chiefs and the Steelers both really want to win this game. They're going to play hard. Pickens probably was resting for this one. This is going to be a really, really good game because they both know how to keep the games close. It's going to come down to fourth quarter as it always does against the Chiefs. So I'm excited to see it. Mahomes is a monster, but the Steelers definitely are a good team. They need to respond to win this division.
Yeah, how about Patrick Mahomes just exploding on their opening drive to score with his legs? I mean, like, what can't he do at this point? They get us underway at 1 o'clock Eastern on Netflix.
What it do, YouTube? Is Coffee tapping back in. Merry Christmas to all out there. Happy holidays, whatever it may be. If you do not celebrate Christmas, thanks for tuning in. Hit them buttons. But let's talk it up in the comments, y'all, as the playoffs are just right around the corner, man. You hear that, clip in the beginning there. Obviously, that game has happened. Mahomes did it. 2 games in, 4 days on a busted up, hurt ankle. And you can see in the highlights in this game, the 29-10 victory over the Steelers, a major W for them. You could see him hobbling around a little bit when he was scrambling, but it wasn't stopping him, man. I wonder how much ish they're shooting up in that ankle, right? Like, for those that know a bit more about that side of the game, that maybe you played football or you just have some knowledge on the MEDICAL side of things, man. Like, obviously, we know if you've seen movies like Any Given Sunday or just talk to someone with that kind of knowledge behind the scenes, man, between like painkillers and injections and just different things like that, man. You guys remember that movie Friday Night Lights? What was that dude's name? Booby. I watched the whole was his name Booby? I remember Booby Dixon that played for the Bills, played for the Niners and all that. Different guy, obviously, but just came to mind, what dude's name. But there was a documentary out there that's on YouTube, one of those big successful channels, that make NFL content about that dude from Friday Night Lights, as that was based on a true story, man. It's so wild the way football is so big in Florida and Texas on a high school level, the talent that goes in to college and then, later on makes it to the NFL from those areas is nuts, and how much they love the game. And that was so crazy, man, the way they shot that dude's knee up or whatever it was, man, to keep him going out there playing. But when you can't feel it, you're doing more damage. And I wonder if that's the thing with Mahomes, if he's just fighting through it or they're numbing him up, or I don't know. What do you guys think? But he did it, man. He beat the Steelers, and it was a team victory, obviously. But the highlights as you're watching them from today's Christmas game, if you watched it, tap in. Let me know your thoughts on the game. A rough loss. I was about to say a rough loss for the Steelers, who have really had quite the season, man, with all the quarterback controversy and just different things like that. They've had a great season as they're still in the playoffs, but seeding wise, they were fighting to win, as obviously the Chiefs were still playing for that #1 seed, which they have now locked up. As a Bills fan, I'm like, come on, B. We needed that. A couple years ago, we were in position to have that #1 seed when the unthinkable happened in that game against the Bengals. And once again, it goes the way it went, but it was like we needed that #1 seed as we're on this quest to get the Super Bowl ring. The Bills in that era was like, we definitely needed it. But you know, you could see in that game that we ended up losing, the Bills were just emotionally, physically exhausted. And in this year, as I feel everything is peaking for the Bills right at the right time. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Bills at the end of this video, but I need to hear from everyone your thoughts on the AFC playoff picture, the seeding, you know, what it's all looking like in today's Christmas games, as it's a doubleheader, as once again the Chiefs beat the Steelers. The Steelers just couldn't get in the end zone, and you know, they made too many mistakes. As you see on the first drive, there was a fumble. They recovered it, but it's just not the way you want to set the tone, and they kept fighting. But the Chiefs just were on fire today, man. Worthy having a nice TD. Again, Mahomes with that hurt ankle. You heard him like Jason Vorhees, like Halloween on Christmas, going out there the way this guy comes back, you can't kill him. I think Watson also had a couple of TDs. Another thing that hurt Pittsburgh, at the end of the first half, they put up a goose egg, you know, right before the 2-minute warning. Nothing. That's been a great thing with my Bills this year, man. What do you think, BillsMafia? I feel like the Bills have constantly been able to put something on the board right before the 2-minute warning, and then, you know, get that double up, come back out and receive the ball in the second half, or go out and make a big stop or a takeaway or whatever and capitalize. You know what I'm saying? Double up on them. The Steelers came away with nothing, and, you know, then couldn't find the end zone later, had to settle for a field goal, being down 16-10. Then Hunt scored a touchdown, and I think there was another fumble by a receiver on a what was to be a catch and run, or not necessarily a catch and run, but a gain, and fumbled the ball, and the Chiefs came up with it. They just were making too many mistakes. The Chiefs were out there playing like a fire lit up under their arse, and that's been the thing with them year after year. Like even last year, the Chiefs were a team that had a lot of struggles, and you know, my Bills, we beat them. We beat them this year too, but this year there was like no Mahomes magic. You know what I'm saying? Like there was some funny posts going around after that game, how like, oh, Bills fans, you know, because of the 13 seconds games and stuff, second game and stuff like that, you know, like somehow Mahomes was going to make some magic happen. But at the very end of the game, we were up 2 scores. It was not possible, and we still went out there and picked off Mahomes. And all in all, as a Bills fan, I personally still feel good, but the Chiefs getting like about how we match up and everything with the Chiefs and the playoff picture, it's looking like we're going to be locked in at the number 2 seed, as the Chiefs have now locked up that number 1, which is huge for them to get that rest. As you see, there's now these talks about Josh Allen in that game against the Patriots seemingly hurting his hand. We'll talk about that in just one moment. But one more thing before we move on that was pretty wild. I just seen, I don't know if you guys saw this, that the Chiefs are the first team in 97 years to play a game in a season on 6 different days, which is wild. In football, you're like, what? There's Sunday night football, Monday night football, okay, Thursday night, you know. How could this be? How did this happen? Oh, yeah, during the holiday season, there's a couple Saturday games. Okay, so that's 4, right? Well, there also was a game on Black Friday, and then Christmas fell on Wednesday, so there were some Wednesday games as well. So that's how you end up with that bizarre scheduling glitch. Man, I'm glitching like a bitch with my commentary. And that's so wild that the NFL in the past 74 years prior to these Wednesday Christmas games had only played 2 games in the past 74 years, 74 seasons, man. So there you have it, man. The Chiefs, 6 different days of the week in one season they play upon, which makes sense, you know, them getting every which way of primetime coverage they can, which my Bills were the NFL was stepping it up a little more, giving us some more primetime games, but obviously not like the Chiefs, as, you know, they're currently the next team trying to become like the next Patriots dynasty. So, you know, that makes sense. But there was just a big story in his yesterday. Pat McAfee kind of sounded off on it. And, you know, it was something being talked about a lot this season, that like, why are such buster bum ass teams getting primetime games, as the NFL is trying to flex around late in the season to keep the primetime matchups pertinent and make sense earlier in the season. Obviously, the Cowboys are always going to get a ton of primetime coverage, and the Jets had a ludicrous amount of primetime games, which makes no sense because they've been the laughing stock of the league. Aaron Rodgers, it's been a joke. It's been horrible. You know what I mean? Like his ayahuasca and hallucinogenic use is more interesting to football fans than what he's done out there on the field. It's just been absolutely ugly. But back to talking about my Bills as we beat the Patriots last week in somewhat of a close game. And I've had a theory on this, as you see the media covering it like, the Bills just dodged a major upset against divisional rival Patriots. And I don't see it that way, right? Like, look at the way the Bills went out there and performed against the Lions, against the Rams in that close loss, against top teams, top defenses and stuff like that. And, it wasn't the prettiest game, but we see the way the offense is clicking. Shakir, Amari Cooper, of course, Josh, you know what I mean? Keon Coleman, James Cook, our other running backs. Like, it's amazing what we've been doing, especially those back-to-back games against the Rams and the Lions. And my theory is that offensive coordinator Brady has been saying, hey, we got it locked up. We're not about to lose to these bozo-ass Patriots. Let's switch it up and challenge ourselves and do some things like experiment with the offense and try and work on some things in game time situations that we wouldn't typically do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that was like the Patriots just really brought it to us or anything like that. I mean, they played with a lot of heart, but I think we were experimenting against them. Like, that's how confident the Bills are and were and what they were doing as we're leading into this playoffs. This team is trying to prove we're different, and I really believe that this Bills team is. And, we've been great over the past 5-6 seasons or whatever. The Super Bowl window is open, and we keep getting knocked off in the second round of the playoffs and stuff like that. We went to the AFC Championship the year of the lockdown, but other than that, we can't get over the hump, and this team is bound and determined to do just that. So I think that they would do something like that, and we get the Patriots again in week 18. We got the Jets this week in week 17 against the bozo Aaron Rodgers. And the big discussion, people were wondering, as we saw a couple of years ago, Josh Allen hurt his throwing hand, and we saw in the Patriots game, he hit his hand on a helmet, opposing player's helmet, and you could see visibly out there something wasn't right. And he shared that he lost feeling in his hand for like 10 minutes, and now here's the dilemma. And I wonder, and guys, everyone comment too with your thoughts about the MVP race. Do you think Josh will get it? Do you think currently Josh is the guy? Please join the discussion in the comments, as well as everything else we talk about on this one, and make sure to sub to the channel. As always, it's all about talking it up with the people in the blogosphere. But I wonder, now that the Chiefs have the number 1 seed locked up, we're at number 2 with 2 games, right? Do you think, I think we got 2 games on the number 3 seed. Will the Bills rest Josh Allen? You know what I mean? Typically, I guess we just got to win one of these games to keep the number 2 seed, if my math is correct. If not, let me know. So, could we see Josh just go out there and try to get the lead, and then they rest him? And who would be the number 2 guy, as Trubisky currently is? But a few weeks ago, we activated Mike White from the practice squad, but I think he's thus been back relegated to the practice squad. So, if that is what the Bills are going to do, and do you think that they should do that to give Josh a rest, or do you think he's going to be all right, or do you think they should be trying to give him a rest period going into the playoffs, even if he didn't have the situation with his hand? Once again, please join the discussion, but that's going to about do it on this one, as we're inching to the playoffs. Such an exciting time of the year. Go Bills. Who's going to end up being who we play at the number 7 seed? Is it going to be the Chargers? Will the divisional rival Broncos be able to fight their way in? Like, what's going to happen? Well, what do you just think about the playoff picture, period? Let's talk about it all. Subscribe and I'm out. Peace.